Okay, welcome back to the weekly portion of Tetzaveh, reading the first verse of the Haftara, the selected reading from the prophets. And last week we've talked about the earliest source of which we hear or read about the reading of the Haftara, and that's the New Testament, the Gospel of Luke, chapter 4. The Babylonian Talmud also talks about the reading of the Haftara and mentions a story from the time of Rabbi Eliezer, son of Horkanus, who lived in the late first century. He went to a synagogue and he heard a person reading from the portion of Ezekiel that talks about let the city of Jerusalem know its abominations. And Rabbi Eliezer was very angry with him. He said to him, "Oh, before you go and check the abominations of Jerusalem, you should check the abominations of your own family." Because he chose that selected reading. And it seems that people used to choose whichever portion to select themselves, whichever portion of the prophets they read. And this is, as I said, for the portion of Tetzaveh, we read from Ezekiel 43, and I read once regular, once with a melody, and then we'll talk a little bit about the grammar as we usually do. So, אתה בן אדם, הגד את בית ישראל את הבית, ויקלמו מעוונותיהם, ומדדו את תוכנית. And now with a melody. אתה בן אדם, הגד את בית ישראל את הבית, ויקלמו מעוונותיהם, Umadedu et tochnit. And 3 points about the grammar here. So here we have the nun of the nif'al. We have different binyanim, and the nun of the nif'al is assimilated into the following consonant. So in the third person masculine singular of the katal, that would be nichlam, because the nun is added because of the binyan. When we move it from the katal to the yiktol or to the vayiktol, the nun, instead of vayin or veyin kalemu, here we have a ve followed by a yiktol, veyin kalemu. I'm adding an asterisk because it's not the form as it is. The nun assimilates into the following consonant. Think of illegal turning to illegal. So we get veyikalemu in the nif'al binyan. Now, nif'al, you can write it like this, you can write it like this, it doesn't matter. Now, the same phenomenon happens here in another word, but for a reason that is different. Here in the verb haged is not of the nifal binyan, it's of the hifil binyan. But the nun still assimilates into the following word, the following consonant. Which nun? The nun that is the first root letter. The root of this verb is nun, gimel, and daled. And so theoretically it should be hanged. Okay? But the nun assimilates into the following consonant because, again, it's a phonetic stipulation. It's not because this binyan or that binyan. It is because when the nun as a consonant is directly followed by another consonant with no vowel between them, it tends to assimilate. It's a phonetic stipulation. It is a rule that is related to the way people speak. So this is why it happens in Hebrew and in other languages. Immoral, irregular. Okay, so that's the assimilation of the nun in both of these cases. We also have the kamatz katan, tochnit. Usually we read the kamatz as an aval, ata ben adam Yisrael veyikalemu umadedu. Okay, so these are sounds, like when you go to the doctor. and he wants to see your throat, he says, say, ah, that's the regular kamatz. The kamatz katan is a kamatz in a closed, unaccented syllable. So the accent is here, and that makes it a closed, unaccented syllable. So we read it as tochneet. We read it as an o sound, not as an ah, but as an o. That's the kamatz katan, which is in a closed, unaccented syllable. So here we have another question that we want to ask. Essentially, the portion talks about the making of the ephod of all kinds of materials, of zahav, techelet, argaman. Who made ephod that had gold and argaman as well? Okay, who made an ephod in the prophets?